good afternoon. This is me again, She, and welcome again to our YouTube channel. So if you may have noticed, it has been quite some time since our latest update. We haven't really gotten a chance to take up some content and upload some videos during the past, I think, 1 week or 2 weeks, because I was caught up with work. Kevin and I are just actually waiting for lunchtime to be over so that we can go ahead and proceed with our grocery time later. And we had actually a lot of errands that are in our list for today, so I wanted to take this opportunity to shoot this vlog that I think is very relevant and very timely for the time being, since, as you may all know, we have already entered June, the month of when people are actually wanting to get married. You may have noticed in my previous vlogs, we actually introduced the fact that Kevin and I got married here in Makati City last March 2021. This one is again very personal, but I don't want it to be centered to myself, but I wanted to benchmark the kind of wedding that we actually had last March. The reason why I'm making this content and making this vlog is because I knew the struggles that one is going to face when we are going to prepare our wedding. So it's not just on the emotional aspect, but more so of the financial aspect. So what we are going to focus this afternoon is more on the financial aspect of wedding planning. If you are a couple that are about to get married sometime in June, or a bride or a groom that is customizing your wedding plans and wanting everything to be personalized, or if you are someone who actually just wanted practical tips on how to go along with the wedding plannings, and I think this content is for you. And if you're interested, please keep on watching. So my content is all about the tips on how to save costs on your wedding. So talking about my personal information, Kevin and I actually got married in a minimalist and intimate church wedding last March 20, wherein it was attended by 10 people. That includes our ninongs, our ninangs, our friends, our parents, our siblings weren't actually here during our wedding because the wedding took off during the height of pandemic, a week before the enhanced community quarantine status of the National Capital Region was activated again. During the time when we were all set and ready for our wedding, 1 week before that, we actually got the information from the church that we have to cut the number of guests that we have, since the allowable number of guests is only up to 20 to 25, or if we can keep it lower, the better. Our original wedding date was April 20, 2020. So it was during that time when the first wave of lockdown, so we weren't able to go back to Cebu to hold our wedding. So what we did was that we canceled our wedding and put it on hold for quite some time, and it took us 1 year, almost 1 year, to decide that we are going to proceed with our wedding, regardless of the presence of a lot of our guests or the people that we would want to be present. Our families, Kevin's side and my side, witnessed our wedding virtually. So we had this FB Live that was proposed by the church, wherein they would cover our wedding through Facebook Live, and so much for that very personal information. So our minimalist and intimate church wedding amounted to less than 100,000 pesos. It is a very common information that weddings are very expensive. The main reason of which is due to the planning, due to the fact that it involves a lot of people, due to the fact that it entails a lot of requirements, a lot of things to be completed prior to the wedding. Since weddings are very, very expensive, a lot of couples are actually postponing the idea of getting married. I still believe how important weddings should be in our lives before we start off raising our own families. Being Christians and being Catholics, it is very important for couples to be blessed in the church. I got this from the internet, quote unquote, Christians believe that marriage is a gift from God, one that should not be taken for granted. Getting married in a church in front of God is very, very important. A marriage is a public declaration of love and commitment, and this declaration is made in front of friends and family in a church ceremony. So why am I doing this content? First, I wanted to spread awareness that it doesn't have to cost you a fortune to have one. In my own personal point of view, right from the start, when Kevin and I actually went into a relationship, I always explicitly have mentioned to him that I wanted to get married in the church. Let us now proceed to the actual costs and itemized details of what it really took us in order to pull off and complete our wedding. So the first important consideration that we actually had was for the church payment. I have with me here, this is actually from the church, and this is the first step. So we were actually given 4 choices from package 1 to package 4. Package 1 being the least, having the least amount of 1,500, to package 4, which actually has everything and most probably the grandest kind of package that the church is about to offer couples. What we actually chosen was package 3, which costed us 4,500 for being parishioners here in our place. So the inclusion are the following: 1, the simple wedding rites with fresh flowers at the altar. Number 2, the Holy Mass. Number 3, synthetic flowers along the aisles. And number 4, the organ music played while marching, during the Mass, and while signing the contracts and picture taking. What constitutes church payment includes the package that you are going to choose, then the FB Live that we actually availed of because we wanted everyone to be virtually present in our wedding since they cannot personally attend. We also paid for the electricity. So all in all, under the church payment, it amounted to 7,900. So you can work your way up from the 7,900. The second section that I am going to explain is about the papers and the documents. So one cannot have a church wedding without officially submitting official documents and papers that are being required by the church. So this is on top of civil requirements that are required for couples in order to officially and legally register their marriage in the city to where they are actually getting married. The papers and the documents that we facilitated to be submitted to our church. First, our community tax certificate, our certificate of no marriage, our marriage license, our confirmation certificate, our pre-CANA seminar, pre-marriage counseling that we took in Makati City Hall, the cost of LBC when we did and try to send off our documents to our families so we can have our baptismal certificates sent to us here, the barangay clearance, and the birth certificates. These are basically the basic documents that you need to prepare in order for you to complete this stage. All in all, it amounted to 5,775 pesos. So another section that is very important to consider is the jewelries. When we say jewelries, this encompasses the engagement ring, and the wedding rings that you need to prepare prior to the wedding. You actually have many options in this section. A lot of couples I know were unfortunate enough to have hand-me-downs or inherited jewelries. When choosing your engagement ring or wedding rings, you need to identify your need. Do you really need a gold ring, an authentic ring? You could actually go ahead and scout for those rings which are actually not that pricey but are actually decent enough to be used as your wedding rings. So if I am going to show to you, that is my wedding ring and my engagement ring. Kevin asked me what kind of a engagement ring I would really want to have, and I told him that I would want to have a decent diamond on it, and I wanted it to be 18 carats. I wanted it to be Saudi gold. I am so sorry if I am this specific, but I just wanted to express the idea that it really boils down to the couple's choice on what kind of wedding rings or engagement ring they would actually want to settle down with. Our jewelries actually amounted to 44,700 pesos. These are all authentic and brand new. And now we have come to the attires. Who on earth would not consider having their own gowns and their own suits, or in any way possible, whether you're renting or you're borrowing, or you would want it to be perfectly customized and tailored for yourself? Of course, every bride and groom deserves to have a gown and a suit that highly depicts their personality. And so when Kevin and I had this discussion, I told him that I am a believer of so many superstitious beliefs, and I am so dreadful of the fact that I'll be wearing a gown that's been used by over several times already by someone that I actually don't know. So I told him that I would want to go away with the idea of renting or borrowing. So we went for the option of buying my own wedding gown and his own suit. Under the attires, this constitute the gown that you have. For myself, I had a long trail gown. Kevin's 5-in-1 groom suit. I included under this section the bouquet, the wedding face masks. Of course, since we were getting married on a pandemic, it is very important for us to have a face mask that is specifically tailored for our wedding. And then I also wanted to have my hair accessories, my jewelry set, that's arras, veil, cord, the ring pillow, the lingerie that I have actually bought for myself in order for me to be comfortable with my gown. So this includes my silicone bra, my girdle, and all the other feminine stuff that only girls do understand. I also have my white dress for the reception because I did not wear my wedding gown during the reception, and white dress for the prenup because we actually have a prenuptial shoot before our wedding. So all in all, when I added everything, it costed around 15,610 pesos. As a tip for this one, you can actually go ahead and rent for a cheaper price, or you can, if you have other people who could let you borrow their own gown, it could be a lot helpful in order for you to cut costs in this department. Another category that we need to consider are wedding giveaways. This is our giveaways. We had this actually specifically designed for us, a glass and a lamp. You can actually see the wedding date, our names, and basically just any other detail that is applicable for giveaways purposes, it all amounted to 1,800 pesos. One tip that I can give you for the giveaways section is to personalize, and research. So another category that we have is the makeup artist. Unless you're a professional artist or a professional makeup artist yourself, or you know how to beautify yourself, it actually pays off a lot more if you would hire someone as professional as those makeup artists that are really into beautifying brides and grooms, because it would not only save you time, the cost that we spent for the prenup and for the wedding, this amounted to 5,500 pesos. One tip that I can share to you for the makeup artist section is find someone reliable. Find someone professional. You should always know your makeup artist. Maybe not so on a personal level, but more on a professional level. You need to see their outputs and just all the details that would really just go onto that kind of makeup look that you would really want to have on your wedding day. Another section that is very important to discuss is, of course, the photography and videography. Since we are going to have just an intimate wedding and with a guest of around 10 people, it is actually not so practical to hire a wedding videographer, which would cost us 25,000 to 30,000 in just one day. So we just hired a professional photographer who captured our wedding moments. Since we had our prenuptial shoot as well and the wedding day itself, the total amount that we actually spent for the photographer is 6,000 pesos. One tip that I can share to you for this section is, again, it applies the same to the makeup artist. Find someone reliable, find someone trustworthy and professional, and find someone who delivers the kind of output and professionalism that he promises you to be delivered on the time that you are negotiating with each other on the cost and the kind of services that you would actually want to have from him. So another important section that we need to consider as well is, of course, the pampering section. Okay, so we actually splurged on this one. It is actually not necessary and you can get away with this one. But what we thought of during that time when we had this was because we were personally planning for our wedding. We were kind of like stressed enough. What we did was we had a massage, we had a facial, we had manicure and pedicure, and I also had a new hairstyle with a new hair color. Totaling everything up, it amounted to 5,060 pesos. And last but not least is, of course, the reception. I've saved the best for last because this is actually the section wherein a lot of couples would actually spend a fortune just to have this pulled off. But since we had an intimate wedding, we actually just treated our guests into a buffet style restaurant, and we bought our own cake from Goldilocks, and we bought our own wine. The total cost 6,483 pesos. So that constitutes all the things that we needed to cover in order to let you know of what we actually spent for the entire wedding itself. Or just for transparency, the total cost that we actually spent for summed up to 98,828 pesos. But one tip that I can actually tell you is you can actually cut this down from actually cutting cost in the jewelry section. So if I am going to deduct the jewelry section, 98,828 minus the jewelry. So if you're going to ask me why I am going to deduct, I do not really see it as an essential part of the wedding. I more of like have treated it as an investment rather than a must-have in order for us to continue the wedding. The total wedding expenses should have only been 54,128 pesos. So I believe we have covered all the actual costs and itemized details. So I would want you to have a takeaway on this vlog by me sharing to you some of the tips that I think would be very much helpful in how you could possibly save on your wedding expenses. Number one is that you should always set a budget. Believe it or not, actually just wanted to spend 50,000 pesos on our wedding. So since we actually spent for 55,000 excluding the jewelries, so we actually just went way beyond just 5,000 more than the actual budget. But it's not really that material. So what I can really just conclude is that we actually were able to stick on a budget. You were able to follow through our expenses and be very much conscious on what we were spending, and that didn't hurt our pocket and that didn't hurt our wedding funds savings that much. Number two is to decide on what really matters. It really just would be up to you to consider the decisions that would really cover up the entire wedding details. Number three is create your wedding fund. It is very practical for you to set up a wedding fund wherein you and your soon-to-be spouse would be combining your money. You may want to consider putting in a certain amount of money on that account on a monthly basis in order to reach that kind of budget that you would want to reach by the time that you would actually want your actual wedding to take off. It may not be felt when you do it on a monthly basis, but when the time comes that the funds actually accumulate, that's when you would be able to appreciate that all the hard work pays off, all the planning pays off. It actually isn't that difficult to designate a certain amount of your salary to your fund in order for you to save up this amount of budget that you have initially set for the wedding. Number four is have a wedding that is within your means. What kind of wedding you would actually want to have. And last but not the least, tip that I can give you is keep it practical. Remember that the essence of the wedding is actually for you to be blessed and to have your union officially recognized by the church and by the state. What's important is the life after your wedding and not just solely the wedding day itself. So that sums up everything that I think I would want to share to you. I hope this vlog has somehow helped alleviate the burden of knowing the basics of the planning and your the financial aspects of your wedding. Remember that this is a very important life event, so much that it deserves to be, number one, well planned, number two, well thought of, and number three, well considered. So thank you so much for listening to my vlog, and I hope you were able to gain a lot of information from this one. If you have comments, let us know and we can talk about it. And if you have further questions, I am more than willing to help in as much as I can, so that we can all set off to this kind of married life that we all hoped and we all wanted to have in our lives. So thank you very much for watching. If you like this video, you can give it a thumbs up and you can give it a like. You can go ahead and subscribe to our channel and turn on that notification bell so that you would be updated for our future videos. Enjoy the rest of your day. I'll see you again on our next vlog. Bye!